I mean, so that's a simple version of it, but it's like this, or how do you relate to it? And that's all kind of cool. The other thing that sort of came up in the conversation just now that I think is interesting and should be your next podcast is sort of this idea of music that comes from one place, mm-hmm. that's then maybe appropriated somewhere else. And then I think when it's really fascinating is when it comes back. And sort of the quick example I have is that there is a pretty thriving hip-hop scene in South America. So basically you have largely Southern California rap being sort of studied, listened to, emulated by rappers in Argentina, and then they're making money now in the US, and it's sort of like, what does that mean? Like, and I do think that there's a certain kind of, it's almost, I don't know. I mean, that would be that's an interesting question. It's like, what does that mean when that music comes back from a different place? Like, then how do rappers in Southern California, how do they perceive that, and what sense do they make of that? Yeah, like that. It's, I mean, there's one way to simply think about it is like it's this cool cultural exchange, but because it's become something else because of its environment. Then when it comes back, there's also a huge country music and bluegrass scene in Japan, and that's great. I mean, just these things like, oh, well, how can that make sense? Like what? Like, because we sort of, especially, I think with rap, with country, we sort of have these in the United States, we have these very regional associations. And so to take it completely out of that context, I think for someone in North America, it kind of blows our mind. We're like, well, what does that even mean? Like, why would someone in Japan want to make country music? Yeah. They do, because it's cool.
We can wrap this up. I don't know if you're still cool to talk a little bit more.
I was gonna say, like, with the whole, like, I look at charts quite a bit, music charts, and mm-hmm. a lot of, like, there's this one, like, Selena Gomez song, which mm-hmm. she did with Kygo, and not really popular in America, but it hit #1 in Sweden. It hit #1 cool. in Finland, and it hit #1 in Netherlands, but not in America. And she is popular in America.
Right.
And like Jay Sean, you know, he's had maybe a top 40 in America, but he's had numerous #1 hits somewhere in like those small countries in Europe. Mm-hmm. And it's just always kind of weird because, like, you know, he's British, but he's never really had a #1 hit in Britain. Mm-hmm. But he's had #1 hits in India because that's kind of who they identify with. He's Indian. Oh, he's making music for us, even though there's no Indian language in it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, he's hit #1 there. He's hit #1 in Japan, I think, once. Yeah. So it's like, you know, like, it's so weird. Like, the people that you would think people from a certain country would top in their country, but no, it's the people that are fascinated with this, and they're always from a different country. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, even like if you look culturally, like, people in America are more obsessed with Japan and like K-pop and anime than probably people in Japan. Because it's normal there, but it's so exotic here.
It's interesting that sort of whole, like, why one culture sort of adopts another form. There's this sort of long-standing kind of truth in the American blues scene that when you play if you're a famous blues musician or just an up-and-coming blues musician, when you play in Chicago, you play Chicago. You play it the way it's always been played. Any creativity is sort of frowned upon. It's like, no. This is kind of fossilized somewhere around 1955, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. And so what all the blues musicians were doing for a while is they would go play in Europe. They would do their Chicago shows because they made a lot of money, but then there was a European audience that was very open to American blues, but also to American blues as a developing form. Yeah. So in the United States, it almost had become sort of like a Disneyland version of it. It's like, no, it's this fossilized thing. It's just there. You can't change it. I want to hear it played the way that it's always been played, the way that it's supposed to be played, and it sort of kills the form to a certain extent. So maybe that's what some of that cross-cultural pollination is about, is it gives you a little bit more freedom. Okay. Well, thank you guys.
It's much appreciated to have you here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Have a good weekend.
You too. got like much more into like.
No. Yeah. I walked in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to like start to make sure I got something. It was a pleasure having you here. I like having your perspective because it doesn't really. I feel like a lot of my perspective is very much secular, and I like introducing new thoughts. Sort of the sense of like I don't pay attention to. Like I know a lot of my favorite artists go to other places, but I've never really understood how like those other places perceive them.
Yeah, it's always weird. Like, you know, I've never been to India, so I don't exactly know how the music scene is there. But, you know, my sister's there right now, and she's like, they keep playing Taylor Swift. At a wedding, they were playing Taylor Swift songs. And I'm like, why? Like, her music, there's nothing, like, wedding related in her music. And she's just like, I don't know. I don't think they know what they're saying.
But I think it's very much like, a lot of it is, I've always found listening to like music in other languages is both fascinating and hard. Because it's like, I can't really identify with the words or the meanings, but I know how it makes me feel.
Yeah, you know, actually, I have absolutely no idea. Like, in India, they have so many languages.
Mm-hmm.
I will be listening to a Bengali song, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, but I'm going to jam out to it. Yeah. It's just easy. I have a Shakira station on my freaking phone, and you know, all the Spanish songs come on. I have no idea what they're saying, but I'll freaking dance to it.
Yeah, I think it almost becomes like an interpretation. It's a little bit more pure because you're not like prodding it with all of your intellectual thought. You're not trying to understand it. You're just trying to hear it.
Yeah, and like I do this quite often. Like if there's a song like Justin Bieber's "Sorry," I do so much commentary on that song.
Yeah, no, you're breaking down every line, every lyric, and like
every
this
emotion
doesn't match
he's
up.
Feeling.
Yeah,
and like it's just easier because like you know what he's saying, you understand the meaning, so it's just easier to talk about it. But when you're listening to something in a whole different language, you're listening to the rhythm, the beat, you're listening to the voice. You don't know what they're saying, but you know, you can feel it. So you kind of go with it. And that's what makes it pure. Like, you know, you don't have to feel like, oh, you need to like criticize the song. You can just enjoy it.
It's kind of like an abstract painting in that sense of like it's being presented, but it's not made to be understood. Like somebody tries to make like a photorealistic painting, and then the face that they make doesn't completely look like a real face, then they did a bad job. But if somebody is just like making this weird abstract painting where it's just like splashes and paints and blotches.
Jackson Pollock.
Yeah. Or like I even think Picasso because like I see Guernica and it's like I can't even like fully wrap my head around it. But like when I first saw it, I could feel like a discomfort in myself and like pain. And, like, that's what I saw in it. And I think I saw it around the age of, like, 12 or 13. So I really wasn't in the active, like, job of, like, analyzing everything and breaking it down. And I think the best way to view it was at that age when I could just feel it. I could just see it and, like, take something from that.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like the same thing. It's like, you know, when you're a kid and you're watching Disney, you just think it's just a sweet fairy tale, but then you get older and you hear about the Grimm brothers and you find out the original. Yeah. So that's kind of how I see like foreign language music. You know, you think it's all pure, but once you start to understand the deeper meanings and like you start understanding the words, you realize it's not as innocent or as pure or heart-wrenching as you thought it was. It's just, you know, it could be vulgar. You know.
But yeah, I think a lot of it is it's like music doesn't just become like it's kind of like how people see books. It's what the artist made, but it's also how you interpret that. Like it's like these words mean this, and that's important. But it's like, what are you getting from it? Like I know there's this one song I've listened to recently where it's called like Mixed Feelings, and basically. Like, I relate to it because it brings me back to this time in which, like, my life was falling apart. And then, like, there's this back end part where it's basically, like, this person having this voice in his head that's kind of, like, self-destructive. but how I heard it was very much like sort of like positive numbness from things. And it was like I sort of read his manifest, like, because this was up on SoundCloud, so he was able to put his description next to it. It was like, yeah, no, this is me, like, in my sorrow. And then this back half is like me being like really like sort of like self-destructive, like doing drugs, partying, just being in the hedonism of it. But I was just like, I identify with something differently. Yeah. And I don't think it makes what he said not important. I just think my way is what's important to me. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, just how the way we perceive music, it's always different. Like, you could be listening to a song and you think it's like full of joy. I'll hear it and all I hear is like sadness. Or I'll hear a song and I think it's, you know, good dance music, but you listen to the words and you realize it's actually not.
It's like just like you know the song, like it's like you hear pumped up kicks, and you're like, da, da, da,
and
da.
then you realize,
and then you listen to the lyrics, and you're like, oh, this is Columbine. Oh, this is about kids getting shot at.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary. But all the other kids,
yeah,
with
like
the pumped up kicks.
It's
Oh
so
God, better.
It's so interesting because like I listen to this band, and you know, all their like good music, like their happy music, is super slow. But all their like sad music, it has a pumped up beat to it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I hear the words, I'm like, oh
God.
Okay, never mind. All right, okay. You're going.
If we could just mute these lyrics. Yeah,
you can
yeah,
dance
this
it
is
in your
my
car,
jam.
but yeah, but you know, it's just so weird. Like, you know, we think that that's the case with just foreign music, but no, even with American music, English music. You still can like completely not listen to the words and think this is a good song.
Yeah.
But then as you know keep listening to it, you actually start listening to the words, you realize that, oh no, this person is talking about trying to kill themselves.
Yeah.
But you know, they're gonna mask that behind this really good pumped up high beat.
Yeah.
And that's just how some people cope. But you know, and also, you know, it also shows that some people don't really care about the words. They just need something they can move their body to.
I think a lot of what like music will often show is a sense of like a constructed reality. Is like the beat becomes the like your perception, your constructed perceived reality of what you think is real, and then the lyrics become what's actually happening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think that's where we'll wrap it up. It was good having you here.
Yeah. I'm glad you called me.
Oh yeah, I got you. This has been Wildcat Radio, and we're signing off.